Welcome to my NFL playoff predictions. Before we begin, I'm gonna give you my final NFL record from my pick'ems and YT. Now, before we begin with all this, please pray for California right now as they're dealing with some fires, and it's just a tragic time over there as I grown up over there. Just pray for them, and yeah. All right. So my season pick'em final record for 2024 is 173 and 83. Now, just a reminder, I missed 1 week of the NFL prediction season. That was week 16 because I was not here and I did not have the time to record the video. And for my season YT, I finished with 158 and 98. And that's a total of 256 games predicted. I believe this is all correct. I think everything stands. But yeah. And now I'm not fully sure on what will be the divisional schedule based off my predictions, but I know likely if the I don't know. So let me do my research real quick on your NFL wildcard announcers. I think we know the CBS ones. So we basically know most of them. So the only confusing one really is the wild card, the CBS one. But the Iron Eagle, Charles Davis will get the Chargers and the Texans. And there's going to be a Nickelodeon cast for that game as well if you want to watch it. And then Steelers and the Ravens, Al Michaels, Kirk Herbstreit. So he has to go to Baltimore the very next day after the Ohio State game. And then Sunday, you already know the drill. Broncos, Bills is Jim Nantz, Tony Romo, Kevin Burkhardt, Tom Brady, Packers, Eagles, and then the Commanders, Buccaneers will be Mike Tirico, Chris Collinsworth, and then Monday Night Football, Joe Buck and Troy Aikman. Now, also one more thing, the Cardinals, or no, not the Cardinals, the Vikings and Rams game has been moved to Arizona due to the wildfires. So just to let y'all know on that, and now we're gonna begin with my playoff predictions. This is the last video of the year for based off my playoff predictions. This is gonna be the full playoff predictions. We're gonna get in straight and right away. But to begin, the first game, the Chargers and the Chargers and Texans. So the Texans team has really, really fallen off this season after a 5-1 start, and I mean injuries didn't help this team at all. But they only finished with 10-7. I had high expectations for them, and they regressed a bit with Stroud having a sophomore slump. And it doesn't help the fact that the O line is causing problems for this Houston Texans team. They need to fix that one as soon as the season is over. I don't think they're gonna get Stephon Diggs back after the season. Apparently, Deontay Johnson may play from I think the wild card game. I'm not fully sure, but it's just has a really interesting journey. But yeah. So the Texans are gonna have Tank Dell. I don't know. Only Nico Collins and John Mechie. I think Deontay Johnson's gonna have to be like wide receiver 3 or 2 if he can play, if he knows the playbooks and all of it. But he will be playing for the playoff game, and now is going to likely have to figure out where his home will be. It's just been unreal. Texans defense is kind of banged up as well with Jalen Petrie out on IR, Jamal Hill, Danico Autry. But for the most part, it's fully healthy for the most part. But the offense is pretty banged up on receiver. Meanwhile, the Chargers have been the hotter team lately in the season. They got off to a 3-3 start, and then ever since they've been rolling. They finished the season 8 wins. So they finished the season 8-3 after this 17-15 loss to the Arizona Cardinals. But yeah, this Chargers team has been really interesting to watch all season. Herbert has been great. He's been playing really well with not really a lot of weapons to help him, but he's thrown for 23 touchdowns and just 3 picks, which is really impressive with that core. I knew he wasn't really gonna throw the ball a whole lot this season, but he still did his part. He played really well this season. The running game was decent. But yeah, this Chargers offense has some holes to fill. Lad McConkey's been a stud and the true wide out one right now. Quentin Johnson has been bouncing back. He's been bouncing. He had a bounce back season, but he still has a lot to learn and a lot to go. It's definitely been better than his first season, but he still has work to do on from not dropping the balls. I mean, he had like a couple bad games this season, but he's still improving. He's still working. He had 8 touchdowns this season and 700 receiving yards. He's getting better, but I think he'll be like a wideout too. He just has work to do. I think Lad McConkey is gonna be wideout two next season because I think the Chargers are gonna go get a wideout one because I know this team's gonna get better. But speaking of that, I gotta get in with my playoff predictions now. But and this one, I think this is an easy one for me. I think the Chargers are the better team here, and I think they'll beat the Texans to move on to the divisional round. Um, I can't trust the Texans right now. I want to they can win as well, but yeah, I'm more in on the Chargers right now. I think they're the better team right now. Our next playoff game is the Steelers and Ravens. Um, you don't want to count on the Steelers on this one, but I don't think they're gonna win today or tomorrow against Baltimore. I can't, man. But the Steelers they're just cold as ice right now. Ever since ever since that one game, they've just fallen off. They haven't been able to dominate like how they used to do, and then like they started off 10-3, finished 10-7. It's just been a collapsing season again. And they get the wild card game against the Ravens. Now, I'm not. They were in that game against Baltimore in Week 16 for a little bit, and then Russell Wilson threw a costly interception, which basically set the game for the rest of the way. This could be close again. This can be a really game that could be up in the air. Don't count out the Steelers. I think they have a chance to win on this one, but I don't see them. I don't see it happening. Unfortunately, I have the Ravens moving on to the divisional round, likely next week. But yeah, I will be going. I think the Ravens will win and do their job to move on next week. And now for the final AFC wildcard game scheduled for CBS, Broncos and the Bills. And this one's going to be a really good game. You got Bo Nix, really impressive rookie season with that offense. No matter what happens to the Broncos, I think regardless of it, this season's been a success for them. Like, this was supposed to be, like, quite literally, I think, the worst team in the league or second worst team in the league. But Bo Nix has proved me wrong. He proved me wrong this season. I think Sean Payton deserves Coach of the Year votes. But the Broncos have just been decent team. They proved expectations this season. I think they're gonna get better. They could potentially get better if they play the right cards next season. But going to the Bills now. Buffalo's, but they have Josh Allen. Man, he's potentially the MVP. The Bills have been really good all season. They're a perfect 8-0 at home this season. They won some big games, like they won against Detroit. Josh Allen's been a huge has. People thought the Bills weren't going to be as great this season. They might have been a wild card team at best, but no, they're still the Bills. Don't count out Josh Allen. You prove it. And they finished 13-4. And Josh Allen is a huge part of it, and the Bills defense too. But in my decision on this one, I have the Bills winning, and unfortunately it ends a wonderful Broncos season. But no matter what happens in that game, I still think the Broncos have a successful season. They finally broke a playoff drought. They haven't been to the playoffs since 2015. So that's 9 seasons, and the drought has snapped, and the Broncos have finally made the playoffs. But regardless of it, I think they'll be back. But it's been a good run for Denver this season. They deserve. I hope they win and be funny, but I don't think it's gonna happen. They have an MVP candidate potentially ready to just dismantle them. I think this is gonna be really close, but the Bills are gonna get it done. Now to begin our next wild card game, we have the Packers and the Eagles here. So Jordan Love is hurt with his elbow. He's expected to. I think he's good to go. But Watson's down, and the Packers have just been. They've been a good team, but they're not the best team in the NFC North at all. Like they're not. They have struggled against divisional games, but they haven't won big games at all this season. Like the first matchup of the season, it was really close. It came down to the wire. It was really back and forth, back and forth. I think we're gonna be in for another treat in this one. It could be a really good game in Philadelphia. But yeah, they have not been able to win big games really this season. Like they barely won against the Colts. They beat the Titans. Like they beat the Rams, the injured Rams at that point. They beat the Cardinals. That's a decent team. They beat the Texans at that time. I think they were pretty good, if you want to count it. But yeah, the Texans were good at the time, but they got stunned. But yeah, if you want to count it during that time, yeah, okay. So that's one good team they beat. They barely squeaked by Jacksonville. The Lions were in control for most of that game. They beat the Chicago. San Fran doesn't really count. They were injury prone in that game. They beat in Miami. Cool. They barely lost to Detroit. They beat it up on Seattle. They beat it up on New Orleans, and then they lost to Minnesota. Well, they tried to came back but fell short. So, it's gonna be close, but I'm not confident in Green Bay in this one. I think the Eagles are gonna get it done here, and in the Packers season. I think they'll be back next season, but yeah, the NFC North is gonna be really tough to watch, and it's gonna be real interesting. But and now the good game, Commanders and the Buccaneers, and that's potentially for a shootout game. Like it could be really interesting. It can go either way. I don't know in this one, man. But I'm actually not gonna take the Buccaneers in this one. Look, if the Buccaneers are on their A game, they're gonna win. I think they'll beat them if they play their A game because they have some sloppy losses on the season. They lost to like Denver. I know Denver was a pretty good team this season, but they were sloppy at that. That was a sloppy one. They got outdueled by the Falcons in that game. They got outdueled by Baltimore and Atlanta again. Lost to San Fran and Kansas City. Lost 4 games in a row. Then they finished the second half strong with an easy schedule. They got a really good win against the Chargers. Barely lost to Dallas. It was not a good one, and then they basically almost lost to the Panthers, by the way, on the first one. But yeah, huge respect to Mike Evans, man. I think he's a Hall of Fame receiver, guaranteed now. But yeah, but in this one, it's really tough to predict. This can legitimately go either way, and this is gonna be a shootout game. But in my final decision, I'm going for the upset here. I'm gonna take Washington on the road to beat Tampa Bay and advance to the divisional round. It's gonna be really shocking, but I think we get an upset, and Washington beats Tampa Bay, and ends their season. And now the final wild card game, the Vikings and Rams, is now in Arizona. Um, this is another tough one. The Rams are really good. They've been hot. I know their offense has cooled off in the final weeks, but Vikings have been that team all season. They've only lost to Detroit and the Rams, which honestly, there's some really questionable calls in that game. It was basically back and forth for the most part, but the Rams got them. So we don't know who's. I don't know who's gonna win that game in my book, but I think Minnesota pulls through in this one. It's gonna be another close game. I think we're gonna see a lot of close games. Maybe like only one blowout or two blowouts, but there's gonna be some games that are gonna be really close. But I think this is gonna be another one of those games that's close. But I think the Vikings end the Rams season here. I think they do their job to beat the Rams, and that's it for the wild card. Now for our divisional matchup, so that would mean the Vikings and Eagles matchup would have to be played on Sunday due to the all that type of stuff. It's complicated, and I believe Washington and Detroit would also have to play on Sunday. I don't know how that would work. I don't know if both AFC matchups were played on. I think they did one NFC and one AFC. But yeah, it's complicated. I don't know. But I think what's gonna happen is the Chargers Chiefs is probably gonna be on Saturday, and then Commanders Lions would have to be on Saturday, and then Ravens Bills on Sunday, and then Vikings Eagles on Sunday. I would think that's how it's gonna work, but we'll see. I don't know what the broadcasting stations probably. I would assume Chargers Chiefs would be on ESPN. The Fox game would probably be on Vikings Eagles. The NBC game would be Washington and Detroit on ESPN, and then or Chargers Chiefs. I don't know, and then or NBC between one of those two games, and then the Monday, and then the CBS would probably be Ravens at Buffalo again. But we'll see what happens. But now, let's get into the divisional games. We're gonna begin with the AFC with the Chargers and the Chiefs. Honestly, this could go either way. Honestly, I would not be shocked if the Chargers beat them and learned their lesson last time, because the Chiefs have always played a lot of close games this season, and I don't know if they can compete in the playoffs. Now, the Chiefs with Patrick Mahomes, I know he's really good in the playoffs. We know that, and that's when he plays his best ball. So I'm not gonna count out the Chiefs, sadly. But yeah, this is a team that won a lot of close games this season by one possession. Like except for the Steelers dominating, Browns. Let's see, the Niners, the Saints, and that's really it. All Most of their games were by one score, and that's something to think about. Are they gonna dominate like how they did on to the Steelers, or what are they gonna do? But to think of it honestly, I think this is gonna be another dogfight between Justin Herbert and Mahomes. We get a really good matchup between these two quarterbacks. But I think the team is gonna win with the defense. I think the Spags defense gets huge plays and ends the Chargers season here. I think the Chiefs go to the AFC Championship game. I really hope the Chargers do win though, but I don't think that happens. I think the Chiefs get their job done, and we'll move on to the AFC Championship game, either hosting Baltimore or Buffalo. We'll see in a minute. But now with the Washington Commanders game and the Lions, I think this is a blowout here. I think Detroit, they're gonna be prepared on rest, and I think this is the blowout of the divisional round. I still believe Washington had a really good season, but I think this is where they get blown out here. I think they're gonna lose to the Lions. They're like the best team in the league, and they're gonna be prepared, ready to go. and I think this is the team to beat in the NFC. But the Lions do their part; they will win um the divisional round, and they will also host a NFC Championship game. The Ravens and Bills is the more intriguing matchup of the divisional round, but we're gonna get to the Vikings and Eagles first. So these two teams have not played each other, so this is gonna be something interesting to think about. We don't even know if we're gonna get this matchup at all, but this would likely be played on Sunday night or afternoon, and then probably these would be the Sunday games. If I had to think of it, I'm not fully sure. But Vikings and the Eagles. Oh man, so this is really tough to think. But the Vikings have beaten a lot of good teams this season. I think they can beat the Eagles. But the Eagles, man, I don't know what's gonna happen with this team at all. But the Eagles have dominated like in the second half, like for most of the season after their bye week. They've been red hot, except for that Commanders loss. So this is a tough one to predict. But I actually have another upset. I think the Vikings are going to send the Eagles packing. I'm trying to be a little creative here because I don't want to go with all the favorites. Like I know it's probably going to be Bills Chiefs for example, but I'm trying to get all creative with these upsets and all of it. It's probably going to be a down the drain immediately, but we'll see what happens. But I think Vikings are going to like lock in and rebuild that fuel for the postseason. But I think the Vikings go to the NFC Championship game and play a divisional rival in Detroit. I think they upset the Eagles. I think they get the job done and they do their part. And now for the Sunday, probably afternoon game or Sunday night, I don't know, between the Ravens and Bills. Now, this is the most tough matchup of the week. You got MVP Lamar Jackson and potentially another MVP candidate and Josh Allen. Now we saw this game in Week 4. It was a blowout. The Ravens dominated all game, but I don't think this is gonna be anything like that. To think of it, I think Josh Allen's gonna be ready to go. The Ravens can honestly beat them. We can really see a Ravens Chiefs rematch from Week 1. They have Derrick Henry. The Bills also have James Cook. I think he's gonna learn from his mistake. I think he's gonna get hot. I think he'll get a rushing touchdown in that game potentially if they even do play. But the Bills are gonna have to be prepared on their defense. They need to do their job on offense to make sure they're ready to go to beat this Ravens team. And I want to be shocked if Baltimore beats them. The Ravens have the running back and the quarterback. They can just run the ball most of the time and then pass the ball when they really need to get going. But this is a really tough decision. But I have the Bills doing their part and ending the Ravens season, and they will go to the AFC Championship game against Kansas City. I think it's been a really good season. This can legit go either way. This is a legitimately coin flip of a game. I want to be shocked if Baltimore beats Buffalo. I think Baltimore can beat them because I think they have the running game. But I think that I'm more confident in Buffalo doing it at home because they have the huge home field advantage. But I think this is going to be probably potentially a game of the year matchup. But we'll see what happens. But I have the Bills doing their part in the divisional round if we even get that matchup. Now to the championship games. We have Bills and Chiefs and the Vikings and the Lions. So to begin, we're gonna do the NFC Championship game between Minnesota and Detroit. Can Minnesota do it? No. I don't think they're gonna beat the Lions. I think the Lions are the team to beat in the NFC, and they're the best team in the league for a reason. The Lions are getting healthier. They're gonna have their guys back ready to go for the post season, and they're gonna be ready to destroy teams again. And I think the Lions were the best team for a reason. I know their defense got a little shaky at the end of the season because they were banged up, but the Lions have been on fire and all season, and they're on a mission to win the Super Bowl, and I think they're going to get to the Super Bowl. They're going to do their part and beat Minnesota, going 3-0 this season to beat Minnesota, and the Vikings season ends in heartbreak, and the Lions go to the Super Bowl and do their job. It's a great season for Minnesota. I legit did not expect them to be good, but Kevin O'Connell, man, he's done a really great job this season. But again, Lions, I think they're the team to beat in the NFC this season. But the Lions do their part. They will play in the Super Bowl. And now for the final AFC Championship game, we have the Bills and Chiefs. And now, man, this is another intriguing game. But this time it's an Arrowhead. And man, this rivalry is really big between these two teams. It's the new Tom Brady, Josh Allen. Or no, Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, for example. This was like probably the new one. Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen between these two teams. Josh Allen, it was a back and forth game between the Chiefs and Bills, and the Bills did their part, and won that game 30-21. Now it's a tough game to predict. I can't trust the Chiefs here. I really can't, because all of those games have been really close games. I don't even know if they're gonna win the divisional round, but I wouldn't be shocked if they would, because Mahomes knows how to play in the postseason, and he's the best postseason quarterback right now. But I don't think it's their year. I think they're going down, either in the AFC Championship game, or if they even make it to the Super Bowl. I don't think they're even winning 3 straight Super Bowls this season. I don't see it. I cannot see it this season. But I have the Bills winning. I think they're gonna do it this time and make it back to make the Super Bowl for the first time in a really long time. I think they'd beat the Chiefs again. I'm more confident in Buffalo or Baltimore beating them right now. I think they're actually gonna do it this time. I'm really more confident because the Chiefs have not been that dominant team. I mean, I wouldn't be shocked. Again, it's going to be close games, but the Chiefs, they might go down in the playoffs because they have a lot of stretches. Like, a lot of their games came by one score, by W's. The only 2 losses were by more than two scores, and the Broncos doesn't really count because they play their backups. But I think the Bills win, end the Chiefs season, and now our Super Bowl is the Lions and the Bills. I'm going with my safe pick. I think we get the rematch from Week 15, Buffalo and Detroit. This was a really good matchup, and I think we're in for another treat between these two teams. Now, I think it'll be a little lower scoring, but I can't do it, man. I think this is just the easiest prediction. I think we're going to be in for a really good game. But my Super Bowl winner, I think I'm going with the Lions. I think that's the team to beat this year in the playoffs. That is the team to beat in the playoffs this season. It is. The Lions win the Super Bowl, and this is my official playoff bracket predictions. It's probably going down in the wild card, honestly. But we'll see what happens. Hey, I hope you guys enjoyed it. Enjoy the playoffs. I won't be back until later, but I may make other videos. I might make other content real soon. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoy the playoffs, enjoy the postseason, and I thank you guys for a wonderful season. And yeah, be safe out there. Enjoy the playoffs again. And yeah, these are my playoff predictions. Have a blessed day, everyone. Thank you for all your support from the 2024 season. God bless you guys.